Hey guys, Aaron Wilson at NRG Stadium. Earlier today we spoke with Texans offense coordinator Nick Caley. I thought that was of the most interest of anything, sights and sounds of today, other than, the knowledge that Derek Stingley Jr. did not practice. So I guess we'll begin with that. Sting is dealing with an oblique injury. It is related to the hit he suffered against Los Angeles Rams. He, I know, finished that game and he played the last 2 weeks, but aggravated it against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now trending toward not playing. I think that will allow him to make a full recovery. Not regarded as a long-term injury, but it needs to be managed. So that means Tremont Smith. They have a lot of confidence in Tremont with the speed that he has, probably the fastest guy on the roster. Did a pretty good job against the Jaguars for the most part. Of course, this will be their first football game without CJ Gardner-Johnson. We got some reaction from Kamari Lassiter, said he was surprised by the move. I think they're all going to say that, but a player privately told me it was time for CJ Gardner-Johnson to go, and he was a lot. And those are the words of a Texans player that told me about this and about an argument that he had, and just a lot with CJ Gardner-Johnson. But let's move forward. So, like I said, I wanted to talk about Nick Caley for the most part. And he says that the offense is improving, that they had a good week of practice last week, had some nice efficient runs against the Jaguars. Process over results, I guess, so it really isn't that productive, but he says they still have to clean up the operation in terms of the pre-snap penalties, the turnovers. He's on a, quote, crusade to do that. Crusade is serious business. We're talking about religious type of thing, like a zeal, quest to cut out the turnovers, cut out the penalties. They got to get back to that. They got to get back on track. So he says the way they do that, get back to the fundamentals, back to core plays. Be efficient. Get the ball out of your hands. That means speeding things up. Speed it up. Quick pace. He said when you're in a rut, and that was his words. I agree with that. I would say this offense is in a rut. So byproduct of pre-snap penalties. Got to start clean, start drives fast, get first downs. And he said it's a race to get better. In terms of experience, he talked about drawing on the past and thinking about cleaner practices, things that happened with the Rams. Remember the Rams were 2-6 at one point, and then they made the playoffs. The 2018 Texans, of course, were 0-3 and did make the playoffs. So in terms of the slow start, he said they look at everything. Scheme, how they run plays, try to get to some alternative runs. And he admitted that they need to increase the pace. He thinks they have improved in terms of getting the play in, getting in and out of the huddle faster. I think it's one of their problems. And he expected the ups and downs they've seen from Ariante Ursary, who acknowledged to me in a couple of interviews he had a rough game, and that's something that's been, reiterated by DeMeco Ryans. It needs to improve. But they like him. He's a consistently good player, and they think he can do better. They see the upside. So one of the more interesting comments to me is for Nick Caley to say this is not a copy and paste New England Patriots system. Obviously, he's been listening to people, including Todd Bowles, the Buccaneers coach, that said they're running Patriots stuff. When Todd says that, I think he means they're running Bill O'Brien era, not 2000, early 2000s, although some players have told me they have watched old tape of New England stuff. So he said they have simplified the verbiage. They've been very intentional about that, stripping everything down to the studs. I mean, that's down to the foundations if you're talking about a construction business, which is actually Nick Casario's background. His dad, construction business, so he worked in that, growing up in the Cleveland area before he attended John Carroll University. So he said for guys to have enough, quote, bandwidth and flexibility to alter the scheme, it's tough. Mid-zone, wide zone, activating that based on who they're facing. He says they've cleaned up a lot with language. So if the process is getting better, and he says they're confident in the process, when can the results be expected? That's what I want to know. Nobody wants to hear about the labor. They want to see the baby, right? You guys want to see the touchdowns. You want to see the red zone scoring. They're last in the red zone scoring. They've only been in the red zone 4 times. I can't even use all 5 fingers of this hand to count the red zone. You know what I also can count? 0 red zone touchdowns. That is not good enough. They are historically one of the worst offenses statistically in the NFL in the last couple of decades. This is rough. 12.7 points per game. It is really asking too much of the defense and the special teams to win games with this bad an offense. It's got to get better. They got to hang into this AFC South race while Caley learns on the job. So, while he and CJ Stroud, I thought this was interesting because I asked him to evaluate CJ's play. CJ said he needed to play better, and D'Amico Ryan said that had been communicated to him by CJ. Okay, so hearing it right from the horse's mouth. This is from the head coach, this is from the quarterback, and this is from the offense coordinator. And he deflected a bit. And I know that Caley and CJ have gotten close. He said that we can all do a better job. It's not just one person. He said he's a competitor. There are throws he probably wants back. Yeah, you can want a call or two back. There are plays every other position would like to be able to find things, play consistent, and again, he emphasized not just one person, and they've all got to play better. So when can they be more creative? When can there be some more bells and whistles? When can the offense start to kind of have a little more flow, right? That's what you'd hope for. He says still sees that potential if they can stay on track and have more manageable second and longs, or rather not have the second and longs, third and longs, have some shorter down and distances, maybe they can pull some things out. A comment that's been made by a lot of people, and I've seen this on the tape as well, it doesn't take Vince Lombardi or Bill Belichick to notice this. The route formations are bunched, and these bunch formations, this isn't always intentional, but I think people are drifting and getting too close to each other, and it allows defensive backs sometimes to cover better and cover an area and cover guys with just one guy. So he said that's not just on passing game coordinator, receivers coach Ben McDaniels, that's the whole staff. So to zone coverage, to choice routes, it doesn't appear that way. He doesn't think it's, quote, an egregious problem. I think it's not good, though. There's guys drifting inside closer to hook players or behind them, zone distribution, spatial awareness. He agrees that it can be improved. He doesn't think it's a major problem. I don't know. I think he tends to downplay things a lot because of public relations, and that's what he's going to do up at the podium. But I don't have to do that. I can tell you what I think, and what I think I'm seeing is this, that the routes are too tight together. They need to spread out. They need to spread out the routes. They need to spread out the formations. They need to get out of the huddle faster. They need to stop committing the penalties. They need to stop fumbling the football. They need to stop throwing interceptions. Area after history, they got to give him some chip blocking assistance. So here's Aaron's suggestion box. No one asked me, but I'm going to tell you. This is what I think. You got to feed Nico Collins the football. You got to throw it underneath to Christian Kirk. You got to get some easier first downs. Can't throw it short of the sticks all the time on third down. Expect a guy to make a play. It's got to get better. And it needs to get better all at once. And yes, more Woody Marks. That's one thing I really think. They need more Woody Marks. They need to get Dalton Schultz more involved. They need to do a lot of things to improve the offense, to upgrade this attack, and to get to where it's a winning offense. Right now, no, it's not a winning offense. You're not going to win many games. This is a scoring league. This is a quarterback league. And they've got a good quarterback. And I know in talking to him, this is the same quarterback. He's exactly the same. He hasn't regressed. The scheme has regressed. And yes, it's been worse than it was with Bobby Slowick. Is this a scheme that's harder to learn? I think so. I think guys are still learning it. They knew the other offense, and the familiarity factor, that's gone. The 5-time Pro Bowl left tackle, gone. Tank Dell, gone. Stephon Diggs, gone. Cade Stover, gone. All those things, not part of this offense. Is it better that they don't have Shaq Mason? Yeah, obviously. But there are not enough positions where the Texans are really can be viewed as a threat to the other team. Who scares you if you're the opposing defense? Nico Collins? That's about it. And yeah, I thought it was interesting, the whole thing with him and L'Jarius Sneed, and I think Nico is going to show exactly who he is on Sunday. I think Sneed may have woken up a sleeping dog. We do these conversations every week, you guys might have noticed, on Thursdays with the coordinators. So we'll quickly run through some of the highlights with Matt Burke. So at safety, he's didn't want to say it's MJ Stewart when it is. MJ Stewart's been safety one all week. They'll have some help. Sounds like Jalen Mills might be up from the practice squad. I think that's good. And on Tremont Smith, they thought he tackled well, was physical, covered. It does take him out of the special teams equation. just like that what happened with MJ Stewart. So there's a trickle-down effect. So you might need Miles Bryant up from the practice squad, D'Angelo Ross, possibly too. I think that's likely. When I asked about the speed factor, because I've heard Tremont is the fastest on the roster, he said they got the GPS numbers. He's pretty fast. He doesn't want to offend anybody, but he said, yeah, he's one of the fastest. They've got this matchup with Cam Ward. Cam, local product, really good football player, very live arm, lots of boots, keepers, accurate on the run, can take broken down plays and make something out of them. So a good scrambler, some drop back, boots, keepers, like I said, live arm, really good athlete. Tackling, they got to tackle better. Matt Burke emphasized that. A lot of missed tackles on cutbacks, and they've been training on that. Guys are out of position. I think they need more EJ speed on the field. Henry To'oTo'o's missed a lot of tackles. I think that he shouldn't have been replaced, but I think you need to split the time up more with speed. Let EJ Speed play. The guy is a good tackler. He's a good under-control athlete, and he gets into a good football position. As you guys know, the Titans, their head coach, Brian Callahan, has abdicated the play-calling duties to quarterbacks coach Bo Hardegray, former interim offense coordinator of the Las Vegas Raiders. Used to work with Burke with the Miami Dolphins. So he says he's a good coach, and they still expect it to be the same plays, but obviously, Hardegray will have his own rhythm and flavor. So a little bit of a unknown there. They did have Tommy Togiai up last week. I think that's going to happen. He played well. Thought he played the screen game well. Just did a good job all around, stopping the run, very steady and consistent. I think they would call on his number again. I'd like to get Darrell Taylor back out there. Last game, I think his hip didn't feel good, and they needed to have an extra defensive tackle. They thought they were going to run the ball more, and that was another factor in the actives and inactives. And I don't think anything changes for Kamari Lassiter. I don't know if they're going to have him travel with anybody. We'll see how they approach it as they go forward here with the game against the Titans. 0-3 versus 0-3. Unless there's a tie, somebody's going to get their first W of the season. And the Texans need it to be them. They cannot afford to lose this football game. 0-4. I mean, if you think things are falling off the rails right now and the wheels are falling off the truck, imagine this city on fire at 0-4. Ouch. Go imagine what Texans Twitter, Sports Talk Radio, YouTube, comments, what it'll be like. Guys, thanks for watching, liking, and subscribing to the channel. I am playing hurt a little bit, like I told you the other day. I have a cold, chest cold. I'm getting a little bit better. I don't sound very good, I know, but hopefully a couple days I will feel closer to 100%. Twitter and X, Aaron Wilson _NFL. Instagram, Aaron Wilson 7128. On television at KPRC2. And of course, www.click2houston.com. But yeah, most of all for you guys, for your interest, Aaron Wilson Sport. So check me out here. And I'd be remiss not to mention special teams. I forgot to get into that a little bit. I think they'll have to fill in for MJ Stewart. They'll have to fill in for Tremont Smith with the new changes to those guys' status, bigger parts of the defense. So one thing changes, there's a trickle-down effect. Everything kind of like a pebble into some water, the ripple effect. So we'll see that ripple effect with the Texans. We'll see if they can get a win. We'll have Friday practice walkthrough, and we'll have probably a couple of late interviews here in the week. But yeah, most of the hay is in the barn as far as commentary. I'll have some more coverage. We'll continue to write articles. There'll be some more interviews, including my interview with Zion Childress. And from today, of course, in the separate video with Kamari Lassiter and Will Anderson Jr., two of the mainstays of the Texans' excellent defense. Offense got to catch up. Got to start pulling their weight, holding up their end of the bargain. Everybody knows that. Mastering the obvious, I get it here, but cannot ignore the facts. Guys, thanks. Talk soon.
Pinpoint to one person, relative to spacing, like we're never trying to stack receivers on top of each other. Are there times with choice routes and in zone coverage where guys can move and adjust, and maybe it appears that way? Sure. But we're always trying, the biggest thing, again, to zone coverage and running routes is having depth and spacing, et cetera. So I don't think we have an egregious problem by any stretch. Are there some where you turn on the film and you go, well, why is this guy drifting maybe inside closer to a hook player, or there's a basic coming behind him? Maybe, okay, but again, that's going to happen in terms of some zone distribution and where guys have spatial awareness and stuff like that from time to time. But I don't believe we have any major issue in terms of spacing. Is there things that come up from time to time? There might certainly be, but we.
I don't really think I felt like that or the team. I mean, I think they have their own reasons, making D'Amico, and I think as a team, we brought him in and he was part of the locker room, and everybody was, our whole team is close, like we all hang out with one another pretty much. Sometimes like defense, offense, or DBs, quarterbacks, or whatever that would. I thought he did well with his DBs and everything, so it's not really, my position to speak on that. I like CD as a person. I think he's growing as a man. He's trying to find a relationship with God, which I think is dope. So yeah, I wish him nothing but the best. And I'm gonna always be here for him if he ever needs me. But yeah, I'm always gonna be a fan of him.
Yeah, I think we've shown improvement. We had a good week of practice last week. Okay, I think that there were instances where I thought we had some nice efficient runs. I thought there were instances where we were able to get the ball out. And then, the thing that we still have to do is clean up, the operation in terms of pre-snap penalties, turnover, stuff like that. So we're on a crusade to do that. That's the most important thing, and eliminating that type of football and allowing us to move forward. Still too many get back on track situations.
I don't really think I felt like that or the team. I mean, I think they have their own reasons, making D'Amico, and I think as a team, we brought him in and he was part of the locker room, and everybody was, our whole team is close, like we all hang out with one another pretty much. Sometimes like defense, offense, or DBs, quarterbacks, or whatever that would. I thought he did well with his DBs and everything, so it's not really, my position to speak on that. I like CD as a person. I think he's growing as a man. He's trying to find a relationship with God, which I think is dope. So yeah, I wish him nothing but the best. And I'm gonna always be here for him if he ever needs me. But yeah, I'm always gonna be a fan of him.
Yeah, look, I think we all can do a better job, and it's not just one person. And I obviously I don't know everything that CJ said, but what I can tell you is this: like, he's a competitor. Are there throws that he probably wants back? Sure. There's calls too, and you sit there and want a call or two back. There's plays that every other position would like back too. The biggest thing is just being able to refine those things, playing consistent. All right, it's not one person. It's not. We just got to go out and we got to play better again from the jump and continue that throughout the course of the game.
Yeah, honestly, that everybody has like the right to their opinion. If they don't like what I wear, I would just not look at it if I was them. So I'm gonna wear what I want. And I don't think I'm being disrespectful. If I was being disrespectful, then that's a whole different case. But at the end of the day, everybody's entitled to their opinion. I'm all good. But yeah, I just don't really pay attention to it. And I just try to just focus on what I can control and focus on the people who are pouring to me and around me. So yeah.
From the time we got here. So are there things that we can do to settle some things out? Sure, there are. I would say for multiple people, and I can do a better job of that too as well. I think he's starting even on Wednesday at practice here. He's come back to work and he's got a lot of upside in him, and we have a lot of belief in him. And it's just, again, it's not just him, it's all of us, and we're all in this thing together to just try to get better.
Nick, with this system, it's been spoken of as kind of can be hard for players to pick up, at least based on past experience on it. And there's like a limited amount of success without Tom Brady running it. Why is this the right system to get CJ Stroud back on track?
Yeah, I think. Well, again, this is our system. This is not a copy and paste New England Patriots system. Okay, if that's what you're alluding to, I'm asking. But relative to the system, I think everything we've done has been very intentional to be able to cater it around our players, to simplify make the verbiage very. And we strip everything down to the studs in the spring. So I think the thing that this system does is allow our guys to be able to have enough bandwidth and flexibility to alter schemes to fit the guys that we have from week to week, and that's what it does. Whether it's, again, in the run game, gap schemes, perimeter plays, zone, mid-zone, wide zone, we can activate those based on who we're facing and who we have available. And I think from a language standpoint, we've cleaned that up from the time we got here.
Because Todd said it was the New England system. He said it looked familiar. Todd Bowles said it. And that's all I asked.
Yeah,
that's the only reason I asked. But with the process, it seems like how are you confident in the process if the results early on aren't playing out? In other words, like, do you go back and say, maybe the process is the problem, it's not necessarily what's happening on game day?
Yeah, sure. We look at everything. So from a process standpoint, look, when we go out and we execute and we do the things that we're supposed to do out on the practice field, or even in moments in the games this year, we've had success and done good things, and there has been efficient runs and there has been production. Okay, it just hasn't been to the level of being consistent enough. And I think, again, I believe in the process. I believe in what we're asking the guys to do, and we're going to evolve and change to do. We're not going to ever ask a guy to do something that we don't believe that they can do. I would never do that in any situation. So, the focus is on just playing cleaner football, being more consistent, and if we can do that, I'm confident that you'll see results. I really am.
Our defense is any team, right? You guys, everyone talks about football's the ultimate team sport, right? And there's a reason that we say that. So, regardless of what's happening, like, yeah, if someone's off or not off or on, then yeah, it's obviously going to throw your defense off. But it's never one person's fault. Like, it never is, guys. Like, there's plays that happen, and you guys see, a DB beat down the field, and oh my God, that guy got beat. And it's like, well, you know what? We called the pressure, and the pressure didn't get home, and that guy didn't blitz hard enough. So you guys see that thing happen, but that happened. That's it's as much that guy's fault as somebody else's, and or hey, we can't bring a pressure. We have to just rush forward. Guess what, DeAndre? You're going to get chipped this game or this play because we have to dedicate more to coverage. And you guys see someone getting blocked and he doesn't get a pressure. And I get a question asked about why isn't he pressured more? Well, you know what? We asked him to have a hard down because we had to play more coverage that week or that play or whatever it is. So, it's never one person's fault whether we give up a play or a score or whatever's happening. It's always tied in, and everybody in our defense has a hard down. And play to play, like, we make calls, and as coaches, we make those decisions to say, hey man, I can't help you here because I got to help him. And next play, maybe something else. And then that's how the game goes. And we know if we're asking someone to have a hard down, then the people that we're giving the help to or putting in a good position better make those plays. And sometimes you guys don't see all that stuff. Again, it's never one person, and it's never one guy's fault or this or that. It's a collective unit as coaches, as players, at every level. And if we're in conjunction and we're riding together and working right, then it's going to be pretty fucking good.
And I think I think we've said this before, a similar question with whether it's returners or it's always football players first, and we train there's no word of mastery for it, but you have to always be ready for things to happen mid-game. We lost Tremon Smith from special teams last week because Stingley goes down. Tremon's a core special teamer for us. So at any point in time, part of my job requirement of me for the rest of the coaching staff is to be able to adjust on the fly. So it doesn't matter who it is, whether you're asking a question about MJ, maybe taking on a defensive role, that's going to be great. He's going to go play, and he's still, MJ's a core special teams player. So we'll adapt where we need, and just knowing that my job every week from Monday through Sunday of the game day is to get all 70-some players that we have in our building ready to play football on special teams.